Nutrients or not?
That is the question.
So today we're going to be testing whether nutrients enhance a mead or not. This has been coming for quite some time. We've started using yeast hulls recently, and when I say yeast nutrients, that's what I mean. Now, yeast hulls are basically just dead yeast. You can take some of your yeast, boil it in a little bit of water, kills them off, and that becomes nutrient for the other yeast. Yes, yeast are cannibals. We are trying to do this as closely to scientific as possible. We're science adjacent or science-ish. But today we're trying to be as close as possible. Make two exact brews that have the same things in them. Very simple, but something that, I actually want to drink because we're making 2 gallons of it. So to get started, we're making one batch of mead that we're going to pour into 2 gallons. Then we have a couple things that get added to that.
So we're starting off with 7 pounds of sweet squeeze wildflower honey.
Mm-hmm. And we chose that because it's a pretty neutral honey. It shouldn't be a bias in the flavor category. And, it's just a good honey. We had some of it.
And that would equal 3.5 pounds per gallon.
Right. So to that, we also want to add some black tea. So for that, we made one bigger mug. That way, it's roughly a cup or a mug per gallon. So let's get that going in there. I'm just putting the turkey baster in here to hold the tea bag so I don't dump it out. Now the tea was hot. That's why I put it in first, because that way it'll help to loosen up the honey a little bit when we go to mix. Now since we're making 2 gallons, I need to fill this up a bit more. So if we can have some water, please. I'm just going to pour some water in, and then I'm going to try to mix this up a bit. Okay, before I go much further, I want to mix this up so that I can slosh around a little bit and make a mess. For that, I'm going to need my spoon of unusual size. And I'll just mix this up. I want to make sure that it is homogeneous. What we're also going to add to this is some orange peel. Mostly just because I like that little citrus hit with the honey in a mead. I just think that's a nice flavor. And I'm going to add the yeast afterwards, because Derica brought up a very interesting point. If we put the yeast in here and then try to mix it through, one might get more yeast than the other because the yeast doesn't really mix up real good. It clumps a bit. So I measured out equal portions of a bag of Lalvin 71 Beast, and that is our yeast of choice. It's Lalvin 71B/1122 for those of you who are looking it up. This may take a while. So right now, all I can smell is honey. It's just awesome. I don't believe there's any liquid honey in there anymore. Or thickened honey, I should say.
That's plenty of liquid honey.
Yeah, it's all liquid. Got my mix all tucked up there, Okay, so what I want to do...
Are you done with this?
Yep, we're going to get that out. And I'm going to add more water. Now, I'm not sure exactly where 2 gallons is on this bucket, so we're going to play it close. We know from another video that these are a little over a gallon. A gallon's only to about right here, pretty much where the word 1 gallon is. So I'm okay with it being somewhere in that range. Not really a problem. Can you hand me the water, please? I'm going to say that's probably very close to 2 gallons. And if we end up with less, it's okay. We'll just have a little bit more headroom, and it's less mead that I have to drink. Wait, that's not a good thing. So just give this a mix through so that it's all equal and spread through. And at this point, what I'd like to do is take a hydrometer reading. That way we have a baseline to start with, because I'm going to be testing not only how they taste at the end, but how fast they fermented along the way. I don't feel that speed of fermentation is something that's super critical, but it could be a factor. If they come out tasting exactly the same, but one finished faster, well, there you go. By the way, I'm expecting somewhere around a 1.125 gravity reading. See how good my math is. See how I calculated 2 gallons. Not very well. We need more water.
That's like really high.
Yep, 1.150. So we're going to add some more water, because this came out to 1.150, which way too high. So obviously this is not 2 gallons yet. All right, so after adding some water, mixing it up, and taking another reading, we saved you the pain of watching that all over again. We're down to a 1.130, which is pretty close to my target gravity, off by about 5 points. But it's getting harder and harder to pour this, so we're actually going to use an auto siphon to do it. That way we don't have to worry about spilling it all over the place, because, honey water spilled all over the floor in a kitchen, probably not the best idea, especially in Florida. Anyhow, so I also don't want to move this bucket. So we're going to do it the old-fashioned way. We're going to put one of these back here. And we're just going to siphon this into the bottles as equally as possible. All right, so we have divided it into 2 equal portions. They're pretty much a gallon too, so it's really, really close. That's a good amount of headspace and everything, so I'm pretty happy about that. I do want to just get the orange peels going. Just going to try to make equal pieces here. Not that I think half a millimeter of orange peel is going to make much difference. So they're roughly equal in dignity, 2 in each, right? Just to add a little extra flavor. Then I'm going to add in the yeast. Now this is going to be a little bit difficult because...
Do you want me to get you a clean piece of paper so we can have
Yeah.
it dry?
Yeah. So we're just going to do the really simple paper funnel. Just something like that. And dump it in. Get it all out. Make it equal. I'll move over to this one. Now at this point, I don't know which is which yet. I haven't decided. So they are equal in dignity. There we go. And yeah, it's a good thing that we did the yeast that way. It's clumping up and just being weird and all that. Now I do have to put in the yeast hulls into one of these, so keep that paper because I'm going to need it. And let's call that one the yeast hulls. And as usual, just half teaspoon for a gallon. You got it? Mm-hmm. All in. All right, so what I want to do now is mix these up a bit. So I'm going to give them a good shake. So we're going to use our solid bung, also called my thumb saver bung. And the reason why I call it that is because the other ones have holes in them, and when you put your thumb over it, it hurts after a while. So this one doesn't hurt my thumb. And let's not bash them all together and break things. Okay, I shook that 30 times. I'm also going to shake the other one 30 times. But rinse that off, please. It may have touched yeast hulls. Thank you. By the way, that was rinsed off in
The red bucket of sanitization!
All right, they have been stirred equally. Yeast hulls have been added. Now it's time for airlocks. Okay, airlocks are inserted. All that's left now is to put these labels on them, which we will do in just a moment. All that's left now is these are going to sit somewhere, equal place. We're going to put them in the same place so they have the same amount of darkness, same temperature, everything like that. They're going to be right next to each other. And we'll see in a couple of days how they're doing. We're going to take checks along the way and keep you informed. First update. After about an hour, both of them are actually active already. They're both bubbling. Now, it's hard to say which one's going faster.
I think they're pretty equal in dignity.
They are really, really even here.
And they both had...
No. This one's going a little bit faster.
They both had an equal foam layer at the top.
And then I moved them.
And then we moved them, so...
It's really hard to say. I hate to count bubbles. But in the very beginning like this, it's a really good way to know which one's more active. This one's more active. Just ever so slightly. It is bubbling a little bit faster. Because like right now, they just let out a bubble. This one's ready to go again. That one's a few seconds later. But now, watch, this one is going to be up there in just a few seconds, ready to go again. See, and that one's taking longer. Nope, they're the same.
It's pretty damn close.
That's like almost exactly the same.
I counted in between the both, and I got the same number in counting. Now, granted, I didn't use a stopwatch. I just counted in my head.
They're so close that it's hard to call. Let's put it that way. So that's kind of an unusual result. I expected the Hulls to be a bit quicker. By the way, this one is the nothing. This one is Hulls. So the fact that they're very, very equal is, ultimately meaningless at this point. But it's interesting. It tells us something. So
our expectations was that Hulls was going to start sooner and be more active.
Yeah.
They seem to have started at the same time and are equal in activity.
Which really throws in the face of the results that we've had in several brews where we used yeast hulls. They started up almost instantly and were very vigorous.
So was it the addition of the yeast hulls or the different ingredients that we had in them?
Okay, now they almost bubbled at the same time. I want to see what they do. Now they're bubbling at the same time. Exactly. That was in tune. That one's going faster. That's the hulls. It's just ever so slightly faster. Yep. Because they did bubble at the same time, then this one went a little bit before, and now it's a little bit more before. See? It's a full second between them now. So the hulls are faster by that much. See you in a day or more. All right, so it's been about 4 months since we started this test. Like 4 months and a week, as a matter of fact. I have here some notes that I took, which there's going to be a lovely infographic coming up in just a little bit. But on that infographic, to simplify, I took readings every couple of days for the first several weeks. Then I started going like a week and that kind of thing. What we noticed is right away, the version with the yeast hulls in it fermented faster, okay? Just a little bit. But towards the end, it slowed down and the other one started catching up. Now, the very last reading that I took was on October 28th, and the Hulls version was 1.034, and the non-Hulls was 1.038. Now, I know what you're thinking. Those sound like really high gravities. That's why we didn't do this back in October, because I wanted to see if they would go further. This is still primary fermentation. We have not removed them. We have not racked them. We have done nothing with them. So today we're going to take a reading and see where they're at, and then we're going to do a taste test and see, is there a difference? All right, so I'm just going to take a reading, and I'm going to go about halfway down inside, squeeze that bulb first, and we just want to get from like the middle, just to make sure that we don't get any floaties on the top or anything like that, and fill that sucker up and go right into here. Floating. It smells like a mead. Now this is the hulls, which means it had yeast hulls in it version. And it looks like it went to 1.034. It's exactly where it was before. So this did not move at all. What I did though is we took 2 glasses. They have H's on them. This is the Hulls test. So I'm going to fill these. That's pretty good. Okay, and then I'm going to take a reading on the no hulls version. But let me put the airlock back on here and close it back up. But first, I'd like to rinse this out. So, okay, wow, that's strange. At first glance, it actually looks like this one went up. I don't think so. I think it's actually either I read it a little bit weird last time or whatever. 1.040. So the non-hulls did not go as low as the hulls. Let me take a note on that. All right, so 6 points. I mean, does that really make a difference? It might, but it does say that the one with yeast hulls went a little further. Now, That's not really a definitive test because we didn't do it 20 times and all that kind of thing, but it is something. And these have N's on them that kind of look like H's, but you can't read them from inside, so it's okay. And again, I'm just going to pour this into these glasses so we have roughly equal amounts of all 4 liquids to test. All right, give us just a minute to clear everything out and we'll be ready for testing. All right, so we have our 4 glasses. I'm not sure exactly which ones are which at this moment, but here's what's going to happen. Derek is going to cover her eyes.
I'm going to take my glasses off, which will make me even more blind.
And I'm just going to place these on the table. Do a switcheroo. Like the clamshell game, you know? Or is it 3-card Monty? Whatever they call that. I'm not really paying attention to what I'm doing. I'm just kind of putting them wherever. The idea is we're randomizing it. All right. Derek can open her eyes. I will close my eyes now. I promise I'm not looking. I'll even look totally up, see? Just move them around a little bit so that we don't know what's what. All right, now ideally we'd want to each have 4 glasses in front of us, but I just thought that's way too much for this, so we didn't want to make it too complicated.
We also don't own that many Glencairns. So.
Yeah, and I didn't want to use different kinds of glasses because that's kind of like a dead giveaway. So instead, we're each going to drink from the same glass and give our thoughts, opinions, whatever. So we're both drinking the same one at the same time, but there are 2 of each. So the idea is, can we differentiate which 2 are which 2? Okay. So first one. Here you go, babe.
Are we doing the full
Oh yeah, do the
Monty?
full Monty.
This one appears to be slightly cloudy.
Yeah, not totally clear.
Not disgustingly so, if that's...
Yeah, I mean, it's got a little haze to it.
It's just got a little haze.
I would say clarity level, it's about a 4.
It's a pretty golden color that you would expect from a mead, so
nice
that's
color.
Cool. It's definitely honey forward on the aroma.
Yeah, these are going to be sweet.
I'm not getting much complexity, but I wasn't expecting much complexity because this is pretty much just
a basic mead, a little bit of black tea, a little bit of orange. That's about it.
And the aroma, I'm not getting much orange. I get more of the fermentation smells than orange.
So it smells more young to you?
Yes.
Okay. These are 4 months old, so that's a little surprising.
That was my short sip.
On the contrary, I get a little bit of orange. Do the swirl thing. Comes out.
I'm getting more orange on the flavor.
Yeah, I smell it now, though. I smell the youngness, like you're saying, a little bit green. That's surprising. And it's definitely, got some haze. It's not super bad, but it's got some. Flavor-wise, it tastes really nice.
Yeah, I wasn't getting any of the youngness in the flavor.
No.
I just got it on the aroma.
There's my back note bitter. I get that off of mead all the time.
But it's not
prominent.
Pronounced.
It's just there.
Yeah.
This is a good example of my basic mead, as far as taste goes. It's a little sweeter than I really prefer it, but it's not horrible. I mean, I'll drink it.
Did we mention the ABVs or figure those out?
It's about 13%, 13.5% on these, because they started at 1.130, ended at 1.034, and then the other one was 1.040. So yeah, they're about 13 to 13.5%. So they're within 0.5% of each other, give or take. Next one.
Simple numero dos.
Roughly the same cloudiness.
I think this one's clearer.
Okay.
It still has a slight bit of cloudiness, but it appears clearer to me than that other one did.
Okay. Maybe all 4 are pretty comparable. Clarity. Yeah, they're all pretty comparable, actually. They all have a little bit of a haze.
Again, the color,
color.
I think they're all pretty uniform in hue, at least.
I did notice they didn't clear in the fermenters, which is a little unusual, but it happens. Usually at 4 months, that mead is well cleared.
Am I allowed to go back and smell that one
sure.
again?
Yeah, the idea is, can we tell a difference between them? Like, is there a difference?
Aroma-wise, I feel there's a difference between these two.
Oh, okay.
Do the swirl thing. Try not to make a mess.
And at this point, they don't know which is which either. So they're just as in the dark as we are. You said you noticed a difference.
I feel like I'm noticing a difference in flavor as well.
Interesting.
But it could also just be my mind tricking me because I'm trying to find differences. I'm trying to differentiate between the two.
I mean,
to me, that one is sweeter and is more strongly pure honey than that one was.
I think we need water. Water break. All right. I'm going to go back and re-explore these two.
Now, one of the things is we just took one sip each, and I was trying to do our short sip on each of those.
Oh, you can just explore it. It's fine.
I have difficulty doing short sips because I'm just crazy, I guess. Hey, at least I admit it, right?
I think you're right about the sweetness level. Which, I mean, we expect one of them to be a little sweeter, so there's kind of a giveaway there, huh?
Yeah, but I didn't think it would be that noticeably sweet in flavor.
They're 90% the same. I get a slight more of the bitter note on this one than on this one. So I'm going to say that's probably Hulls and that's probably non. But we have 2 more to check.
All right.
Before I say that, though, do you agree? The sweeter one we thought was... I think the sweeter one is probably the non-Hulls. It's less bitter, too, which the sweetness covers up the bitterness, so...
Yeah, the Hulls...
This is Hulls. That's non-Hulls.
And the non-Hulls was a higher...
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, the smell... On the aromas, though, I get very little difference. Like, so much that I'm really digging, and I can't really say that there is. See, that one's not bitter. I mean, just the tiniest hint of bitterness in the back of my throat. But it's mostly sweet. Like, very sweet. Tastes nice. Some people might think it's too sweet. I'm starting to agree with them. All right, let me check this one now.
It's really bizarre. Because we know 2 of these are the same, and 2, like, it's a 2 and 2, right, of the same type.
Yep, that's why we're doing it that way. So that there's a check automatically.
So, because we're trying to find differences, it's almost like we find differences in each one. So, I'm like going, is this that one? Is that one this one? All right, now you mixed them up, so I don't know.
No, I didn't.
Okay.
Same order.
Same order?
I didn't move them.
Okay.
I know which one's which, though.
I think this one is that one, and that one's this one.
Yep. Are we sure on our decision? We can compare each of these 2 now if you want.
Sure.
Yep, those are the same brew. I don't even need to check the other one now. I prefer that one. And I believe because it's just that little bit sweeter and has less bitter taste, it could go either way, because a sweeter taste and less bitter could actually be the hulls, meaning it fermented more cleanly. But a sweeter taste could mean that 6 points of gravity, which it's like 4 to 6 points. There's not much between them for gravity. 4 to 6 points doesn't seem like it should make that much difference. You agree they're the same? Do these two taste the same?
Mm-hmm.
I'll be the judge of that. This one tastes more like my traditional. That one tastes like something a little bit different. Yep, these two are the same.
The more I sip them, though, the more I'm finding the similarities rather than the differences.
Oh, they're very similar. Like I say, they're 90% the same. Like, if I didn't have them side by side, I don't think I'd say they were any different. I think if I had one, then waited an hour and had the other, I don't think I'd say they were different.
Yeah.
Only when you taste them side by side can you really taste it. So I say they're about 90% the same, which means ultimately the test doesn't mean anything. So we can just end the video right here. I'm kidding.
So we're guessing
Hulls, no hulls. That's my guess. What's your guess?
if I had to guess without any previous knowledge, I wouldn't know which way to guess, and I would actually probably guess that this one was the hulls.
Okay. That's fair.
Because I fear because
See, we do have the advanced knowledge that we know one of them had a slightly higher gravity, which we've talked about. But it's only like 4 to 6 points.
Because I feel that this, in appearance, looks slightly clearer. And
it does seem like it is.
So I would expect that from an additive to make a clearer brew, because that's what you're supposed to do, right?
Okay, that's a fair assessment.
Put stuff in there, makes
that makes me think.
Bigger, better, stronger.
So you're saying
smarter.
that could be the hulls one.
That's what I would have guessed,
And
but
this is the no hulls.
Because of the sweetness, I want to think
it's a tough call.
That this one.
And that's what I was saying. On the one hand, you could say a cleaner ferment and a faster ferment could actually have a sweeter, more honey taste than the other one. Oh, that's interesting.
But I want to think, and this is where it becomes difficult for me to remember and categorize all the different things that we've done in my head, because we've brewed so many different things, but I want to think that we were having minuscule clarity issues with stuff that we added holes to.
Maybe a little. I see, when we held them up next to each other, though, I didn't see much difference. Like, I tested them all. They were within, like...
It was...
Minimal difference.
That much.
Now, so you're kind of leaning that that's the hulls, that's no hulls. It's okay. I mean, it's just an educated guess. It's not really... There's no science behind this.
Yeah.
I'm going to go the opposite way, and here's my reason why. I know my traditional mead, and that's what we made here, and I don't use hulls when I make it. That's why I think that's the no hulls.
Because the flavor profile for you
it matches what I make. That's why I believe it is. The sweetness level is almost immaterial because it's so close, but I get a little bit more of a bitter flavor on this than I do on that. And it's not even the sweetness, it's that bitterness coming through this one that's not in that one.
The thing that I find the most remarkable about this whole experience isn't so much the flavor differences, because like I've said multiple times, we are searching, we are digging to find any little tiny microscopic difference, and there really aren't strong glaring differences.
On another note,
but the thing that I found interesting was when they were fermenting and how the numbers really weren't that different. And it was kind of like, you know, when the little fake horse races where the horses are like, okay, this one's going, oh, now that one's going. That's kind of what it was like. And there wasn't this.
Hulls started off faster. That was about it.
Yeah.
It slowed down, and then the other one caught up. Now, there was something I was going to say. I totally forget what it was. Now, something else of note here is that yeast hulls are a nutrient, but not a very strong one. I mean, there's only partial nutrients there. There's not a lot of extra nitrogen and things like that in the yeast hulls. If we had used Fermento, this might be a different test, and that might be something we do in the future. But we wanted to get the yeast hulls versus nothing out of the way first and see if it makes a difference. So, you know what? It's time for the reveal. Let's just find out.
These are nothing.
I was right. These two are yeast hulls. Those two are nothing. So there is a distinct enough difference that we guessed both of the two the same.
Yeah.
It was just a question of which was which. And I think it really came down to I know my traditional mead. And that's why I said that one. Because other than that, I wouldn't really know because it could go either way. But we can just pour these all together because they're essentially the same mead. And we didn't rack that mead yet or do anything with it, but we are going to rack it, and you might see it in an oaking video or another flavoring video. But in the meantime, we're going to drink the rest of this, and if you like this video, look up. There's another one. You might like that too.